So I was in the Navy. I went in 52. Back then I went in as a seaman apprentice, and after basic training I went aboard the USS Barocco CVE 115. That was a short carrier. Our flight deck was 540 feet long. We operated up and down the coast of Korea and sent in aircraft for close ground support, troops on the ground. We launched aircraft at first light, and then they were back and forth all through the day. And when we retrieved planes in the evening, then we moved out to sea, away from any shore batteries or small boats. My job was spotting the aircraft. When they were not in operations, then the aircraft are secured to the deck so that any motion of the ship, the aircraft won't move. So that's what we call it, spotting. I was on the flight deck sometime, and sometimes on the hangar deck. We had to handle the ammo, the rockets, the bombs. I didn't do any of the refueling, but we had to move the shrapnel bombs and all they had different 500-pound bombs, and then they had, of course, the ammo for the machine guns. That all had to be brought to the spot, and then the Marines would take over and actually load the aircraft. And we had a squadron of F-4U-4 Corsairs. They had R-2800 Pratt & Whitney engines, 4-blade props. A lot of them come in, crashed on the deck, and some of the pilots even ditched the aircraft over the side. Helicopters, we had a helicopter aboard, and they'd retrieve the pilot. The landing gear would be inoperable, or they had a problem that they thought it was too dangerous to light on the flight deck. They'd ditch it alongside. They were shot up. One time a pilot came in, and his tail hook caught the cross-deck pinnets, and he was in a tail low situation, and when he caught the cross-deck pinnets, it just crashed him down hard on his main gear, and the airplane broke off at the cabin, and his windshield and engine rolled down the deck and crashed into the superstructure. Had some fellows running for cover too. Once about every 2 weeks we'd go back to Japan for supplies, and that was always a good time. We'd get new movies and fresh milk, and get mail. Probably back then the most important thing the serviceman was looking for was mail call. And of course, if you didn't get any mail, it was not a good day for you. Believe it or not, there was nobody had an automobile. All the traffic on the streets were either walking or they was in a rickshaw. And the rickshaw, they had two classes, you know. They had the guy that was running, and then they had the guy that had his rickshaw hooked up to a bicycle. And this particular day, I was walking, and this little Japanese fella come up alongside, took hold of my arm, and he tried to make me understand, and I didn't. But he led me over to a box that he had, and he had me sit down on it, and then he broke out this, what do you call it? Well, put a piece of paper on it and drawed my picture. His little old hand just flied. And it didn't take him any time to get it done, and I was some kind of amazed, I guarantee. And of course, when I went in the Navy, I made $51 a month. I got $25 one payday and $26 the next. And of course, things were a lot different then than they are now. But that's all the money I had. But I was so impressed by that picture that I bought it from him. I got my Air Force discharge, I got my Navy discharge, I got a bunch of pictures, but that's most unusual. I guess the biggest time of my military experience was when the war was over in Korea. We come back to the States, offloaded ammo in the harbor, and the ship went in dry dock in Long Beach for a short period of time. And the only people that could get, I was thinking that I would get off of the ship, but that didn't happen. The only people that got off the ship was the ones that their enlistment was up. So it went in dry dock and was in there for a short period of time. Then we moved back down to San Diego, and we left San Diego January 1st, and nobody knew where we were going. Then a short time later, of course, we stopped in Hawaii, and we wound up going down to the Marshall Islands. Aniwetok, Kwajalein, Bikini, and there's a lot of different islands in the Marshall chain. But on March 1st, 1954, they set off the first hydrogen bomb in a series of tests called Operation Castle. We were 27 miles away from blast, dead in the water. The blast took place just before daybreak, and all hands that were not required to be below decks was up on the flight deck, and we all were told to sit down and face the stern. Of course, the bow was facing towards the blast, and the officers and them had protective eye gear, and of course they was watching. But they told us not to watch because a fireball would really do damage to our eyes. But we could turn around and look after the fireball dissipated. Just moments after the bomb went off, the mushroom cloud came out over us, and there was so much fallout, all seaweed and coral and sand and those little small flakes. I guess it was ash. I don't know. It was drifting down through the air onto the ship. So we got underway and went out to sea and started washing the ship down, hosing it down from bow to stern, all the gun tubs and sponsons and flight deck. And everything had to be washed, and we were still hot. All of us received a lot of radiation. They had a series of 6 tests, and the first one far exceeded what they expected it to be. That's why we were so close. And there was a Jap fishing boat downwind 60 miles, and some of the fishermen died as a result of radiation burns, and a lot of our people received radiation damage, including me. I got back to the States and off of the ship in August of 1954, and in early 1955 I was in the Navy hospital. I don't remember how long I was there, but anyway, I've had trouble ever since. I've had triple bypass surgery. I'm on my second pacemaker and defibrillator. I've had both hips replaced. I've had gallbladder removed. And now I've got large growth on my thyroid gland. And anyhow, it was an awesome experience. You know, I'm proud of my time in the military. I don't know, it was just hard work from early morning till late in the afternoon, and then by the time nightfall came, well, I mean, you was ready to go to bed, but first thing next morning you were up ready to get the planes ready to go. So it was hard work.